T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Launch Sequence Podcast, your little Star Citizen podcast where we talk about features, ships, and other things. Today it's ships though. We actually haven't had an episode about ships in a little while, but Drake Interplanetary has released a new concept ship. It is the Ironclad, and I wanted to get Phaseone Gaming in here because I've seen him make some videos about ships. I know you like to talk about these ships and features, and you have a pretty good eye on the game. So hopefully we can get deep into the details. But first, I want to talk a little bit about you. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you for joining me, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've been making videos about Star Citizen for a while, right? How'd you get into it?
Oh man, it's been a while. I think it's since 2015. I was coming from console and I found out about Elite Dangerous. So got into Elite Dangerous. I was intrigued by being able to log into a game. You can do cargo, you can do bounty hunting, you can do exploration. It was a really interesting thing for me. And then one day I ran into a live stream or a recorded live stream where somebody was interviewing the lead developer of Elite and Star Citizen and Chris Roberts. Then I found out about Chris Roberts' pitch about the game, and that was it. I thought Star Citizen was a more promising project, so I decided to hop on since.
And that was like around 2016, 2017, you said?
Around that time, yeah. It's a while.
What were you playing before Elite Dangerous? Like, what kind of games were you into?
Oh man, I was into Call of Duty, Battlefield, those kinds of FPS games. But I felt like there's got to be more out there, So that's when I started to get into PC games and realized that there's so much more gameplay out there to experience. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have a similar path, and I think a lot of people ended up somehow going from like arena-based or action-based FPS shooters and stuff like that, or RPGs, single-player games, into this giant space
Right.
MMO. It's a weird transition, but it's not hard. It's like as an MMO, I don't think it has as much you need to know about MMOs as other games. Makes it a little easier to step into.
Right.
So
Right.
you switched over from Elite Dangerous. What exactly was it that made you feel like Star Citizen had something better for you?
Well, Elite Dangerous is the game was you were the ship, right? But Star Citizen, Chris Roberts was talking about you as an individual that flies a ship or that wants to go exploring, that wants to drive a vehicle, that wants to walk on planets and naturally explore and things like that, right? And even space or EVA, right? So when I heard those talking points, I thought that, that's something bigger than what Elite was doing, and I was intrigued by it.
How's it been going so far? Like, since you joined, how do you feel like the game's progressed?
Man, the first few years was a little rough with the delays and but
Yeah,
I
that was a tough time.
feel it's been tough. But I feel now this is the year, man. I feel like now is the year and everything that all the patience that we've been exercising all this time. I feel like this is the year we can actually see the fruits of what CIG has been working on and us supporting the project. So it's an exciting year this time.
I think around the time that you would have joined would have been about when they were starting to when they were starting to set 4.0 as like their long-term goal. They were just starting to talk about 4.0. And
Right.
it's crazy how long ago that was.
I know.
Gosh. Man, I
Yeah,
remember when we
it's
thought
insane.
it was going to be just a couple of years. That took a while. Server meshing was tough, but it's nice
Yeah.
now that we are starting to see, like back then when they talked about server meshing and Pyro, and even in like years like 2020, there weren't a lot of other signs that it was kind of coming along. but now we can see like they're focusing on capital ships and engineering gameplay and
Yes.
jump points and stuff like that. So it feels more real, and I think that serves as a decent preamble for today's topic, because these larger ships that they're making, like they were very, very purposeful presenting the Ironclad about why they wanted to do it, right? They're like, we have a hole in cargo hauling at this size, and we really want a ship to fit in there. Do you feel like
Right.
you've seen a shift in the way that they've been talking about Star Citizen when it comes to like group gameplay or multi-crew ships and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a huge difference now. And I felt like this year they're going to start really focusing on larger ships. I did talk to my community about this, and this is the year they're focusing on the Polaris coming out. After that, I believe there's going to be bigger ships that are going to be coming out with engineering gameplay. It's going to be super essential to have people with you, especially for the bigger ships. I feel like with Pyro coming down the line, it's a much larger ship, and we're going to be fuel range. These things are going to be considerations or resources, whether it's you have enough oxygen in your ship. We're going to have to start making crucial decisions in order to actually survive in the game. So I think big ships are going to be essentially mobile bases, and they're going to be very essential for the future.
Yeah, like I can't wait for the ability to just never go back to a space station. Just wake up, play from your
Yeah.
spaceship, go to sleep, log off, wait. Like that's what always felt like the true Star Citizen to me. You go on a ship and you go for like missions for just weeks without coming back to your home system.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What is your
Yes.
ideal gameplay? Like what are you looking to do?
Uh, my ideal gameplay. Man, it's for me. The reason, one of the main reasons why I'm interested in Star Citizen the way I am is the ability to just log on and just decide to do something else. I can get into bounty hunting, and if I get bored of that, I can do some mining. I can do salvaging. I can, exploration is also big for me. So if I was to say one thing, it would be exploration and being able to just go out um, for weeks into and explore different star systems, and having to actually um, it being necessary for me to bring the required resources, whether it's going to be food, making sure I have components I can replace, in order for me to survive out there and then coming back eventually. So, yeah,
You thinking solo or with a group?
I think it's going to be important to be in a group. To be honest, I think group play is going to be essential. Coming from playing Elite Dangerous, solo was more so the thing that I would do, but seeing the fact that you will be the character instead of being the ship, you know, you have to go with a group, honestly. There will be some times where I'll just do some solo stuff, but to do the to accomplish larger goals, you'll need a group for sure.
Yeah. Which brings us to the Ironclad. This definitely a group ship. Um what are your initial thoughts of it? Just right from the get-go.
Man, I was blown away. To be quite honest, this is the first Drake ship that blew me away. In terms of the design language, it kind of seems like a military ship at the same time while being Drake. It seems like it's a tough ship and that it can take a beating. And it being a cargo ship, I think it's going to be fantastic for uh, dropping vehicles or dropping cargo in the midst of a combat scenario. I can see it being a hauler, the next step up from the Caterpillar itself. And I can see it being a mobile base or a Swiss Army knife type of vehicle, simply because of the size of its cargo bay. it can fit other smaller ships that will add to the amount of gameplay you have access to. I've made a video recently where if they can fit at least a prospector or a vulture, there'll be room to also put a CAR for medical. There'll be room to put a small fighter for if you want to do bounties. So it allows so much in the game, plus multi-crew gameplay as well. So I think it's a really cool ship, to be quite honest.
It really does. Man, they've gotten so good at designing these ships. And I guess also recently they've gotten good at making sure the concept looks a lot like the release. This thing looks like such a great transition from the Caterpillar to the Kraken.
Yes, I agree.
They've done a good
Mhm.
job with making it look like a Kraken. Like the side, the command module on the side is a really nice call out from the Caterpillar. That was one of my favorite parts of this.
Right, right. But
So this is
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm just interested in seeing how that's going to work in terms of the the pod on the side. I really want to see how uh players use it. Um, but yeah, please continue.
I kind of one of the things I really would like to see is because we're going to be able to turn off gravity on these ships,
Mhm.
getting that cargo bay and making like putting a bunch of boxes on the grid or something, or just putting them down in that area and making like an EVA race course for people to go throughout the cargo bay, stuff like that. Because I don't think we have any cargo bays that are really that big that have like an open
Right,
roof that you can do stuff with like that. That is very cool.
right, right. That's what makes it so different from the other ships. A lot of cargo ships, they're either linear or like the Hull C, it's exterior cargo, right? So, but this one, it's like a big bay that allows you to fit so much. It's a really cool idea to actually do that. I would love to try that.
Yeah.
Sure.
We can maybe that's how we can figure out how to get a SATA ball or SATA ball,
Right?
whatever it's called back in. Yeah.
Saddleball, yeah.
So they're calling this thing mid-size hauling. Like they were very much they were like, hey, we got the Caterpillar and then we've got the Hull C. We need something in between. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, what about the Starlifter, like that class of ships? But it seems like they're thinking something a little bit different. I don't know if they've said official numbers, but what are you thinking this thing is putting out in terms of SCU? Like what's it carrying?
Uh, I think it'll be from 1,500 to 2,000 SU. Um, in order to bridge the gap between the Hull C and the Caterpillar. I think the Caterpillar is around like five something or six something.
Yeah. Is it
Um,
man, is it that
so
high?
I think or four something. I could be wrong. I don't have the exact number for the cat, but I think around 1,500. Yeah, 596. Yeah, so I think about a thousand,
Okay.
1,500 to 2,000. Yeah,
Man,
I think.
the Caterpillar, it is deceptively large. I forget that it has that much capacity because I was sitting here saying, what about the Starlifter? I think the Starlifter's in the 700s, so they're actually pretty close.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So that puts the ironclad into more perspective. Ironclad. They better
Yeah.
come out with a plaid skin for it now. Um, that definitely puts it into more perspective. This is like that 1500 SCU range of hauling. I'm gonna ask you a
Mhm,
little bit of a weird question here.
mhm,
If we've got, let's say you're doing Caterpillar trips from, I don't know, your Hurston L1 to your Everest Harbor. Like you're going from space station to planet, maybe, or space station to shipping depot. And then your whole C is doing trips between systems. What do you think an
mhm.
Ironclad is doing in terms of hauling stuff around? Like, what's a good mission for something like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it will be great. It would be great for both planet side and from station to station or system to system. Um, it's also it's very versatile. I think in terms of how to quickly grab cargo and go. It's a quick grab and go vehicle. I think simply just open the hatch at the top of it and just grab whatever you want, put it in, and you're gone. I feel like it'll be able to do both, I think. Um,
Pretty large missions though. I do.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I guess it really depends on. It's hard for us to even theorize because we don't know what exactly the new cargo missions are going to look like yet. They're supposed to be in by now, but um, we're
right.
hoping they'll be in Evocati, I guess, in the next week or two.
Yeah, yeah. With the cargo missions, I think it will be one of the almost I guess almost end game. I'm not sure how they're gonna scale cargo missions. I hope it will be at a point where you will need to fill an entire Hull C, or you'll need to fill entire Ironclad, and also have multiple places to drop these things, and it's lucrative enough. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
It's a it's interesting to think about scaling missions and working with reputation because they gotta. I was just going through the reputation of FPS or mercenary missions,
Mhm.
and it's a nice feeling to reach a new level, and then you see these a bunch of new missions open up to you. And I imagine cargo missions, all those new missions open up to you, and they have little details in them, like this mission contains large volatile cargo, not volatile but like heat sensitive cargo, right? So you start reading that
Right.
and you realize, okay, I need a new ship for these missions that has these sort of capabilities. And I'm trying to think back to the things that they were saying about the Ironclad, that something like that might come up where if you were reading a mission description you'd be like, oh, this is good for an Ironclad. um and I guess that would be, like you said, is that hatch at the top, like an EVA, a large scale EVA collection mission or something would be really good
Mhm.
for a ship like this.
Right, right, right. Like e- there could be a scenario where they create a mission where a large hauler um crashed or it has been destroyed, but there's cargo that they want us to retrieve from it. And and these are big 32 SCU boxes. So it'll be super efficient to have an ironclad as opposed to a Hall C, because you can quickly just imagine if there's also a threat of pirates being around. You need something to quickly go there, grab it, put it in, and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know if the Caterpillar fit 32 SU boxes, or is it just 16?
I think it's up to 16. I don't think it's
I have
yeah, I
no
think it's
idea.
up
I
to
don't remember.
16.
Because that would be definitely a big differentiation between these two ships, at least as far as Drake goes.
Right. Yeah. Man,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
they also said that this is a 6-person crew for the ship, and they just started introducing engineering, so we're kind of like figuring out what that's going to require from people. But this isn't a combat ship, so that might not be super necessary. Do you
Mhm.
have theories about what that crew could be doing? 6 people on board a ship like this?
6 people. Well, with engineering coming in, they're going to keep people busy. I think larger scale ships, there will be, there's going to be almost every component on your ship will have maintenance requirements, depending on the the grade of it, manufacturer. So you'll definitely need some engineers. You'll need at least two engineers. Somebody that's um, sitting at the terminal and somebody that's walking around. Um, when you're looking at in terms of security, you'll need maybe some people that run turrets, people that also can defend the ship if you're ever to be boarded. You'll need people to actually repair. I think repair is going to be a big thing with 4.0. So if you, let's say you have some external damage, or even in Pyro, right, there was some near the space stations. I remember there's some debris outside of some of the stations where
Mm-hmm.
there's damage on your hull as you fly through it. I think there could be some wear and tear with that you may also need to repair your ship. Um, I think Yeah, I think there's quite a bit. I think there's quite a bit that will keep people busy. Um, but I can't think of anything else aside from that. I think I'm forgetting something, but if I remember, I'll let you know.
I don't know, but you did mention like the security on board between the
Mhm.
escape pods and the whole. Oh yeah, you've got a catwalk here where you can shoot down on other people from. I feel like CIG's trying to tell us something about cargo hauling gameplay. I mean, they
Right.
seem to be hinting at it being super dangerous, but also maybe just in a couple different places. How do you think that we're actually going to get missions like that where you're getting boarded by NPC pirates and they somehow are convincing you to stop your ship and then they're getting on board and you have to defend yourself? Or do you think they're just thinking PvP for that kind of stuff?
They could definitely PvP.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they'll implement it where there will be you jump into a quantum snare or something like that, and you're immediately EMP'd by a larger group of ships, NPC ships, and so I'm thinking of how they can create an experience where your ship is down. You need your engineers to get your systems back on. While your engineers are busy doing that, you're being boarded by the NPC. That would be really cool. To that'll be I think that'll
Yeah.
be a great experience. But I think they could do it. Yeah, I think they could do it from the NPC standpoint.
I think that's part of what it's going to be difficult probably for CIG to kind of sell that experience to people of taking damage because we've lived so long in this game where you take damage for however many seconds and then you just blow up, right? But
Right.
CIG kind of wants us to play this game where you're taking damage a long time, and over the course of that time, you're having different malfunctions and things are going offline. That whole transition is going to be rough, it feels like. And I guess we kind of started with soft death, but what you're
Mm.
describing with like people needing to fix this stuff while you're down and somebody defending from the turrets is like a whole nother kind of game than what we're playing in Star Citizen right now. You think we're
Yeah.
how far do you think we are from that?
I think I think starting from 4.0 with the introduction to engineering, I think I seen a video earlier on with Salty Mike in it of I think when we was testing the Arena Commander engineering gameplay where they were fighting each other with their A2s, but once they I think disabled one's ship, they would leave their ship and board it. So I can see I can it's I feel like it's already happening because they had guys inside of their ship that needed to repair things and get things back up and running, but they were also being boarded at the same time. So
Hmm.
so I think from
Chaotic.
4.0 going on, yeah, I think we can expect to see that type of gameplay.
And that's really why we're starting to see ships like particularly the Polaris come in game this. I think that's going to be the actual test bed for this stuff. First capital ship with these systems, first real interior of
Hmm.
like a large size. That could be the best
Right,
place to load into Arena Commander and start playing little attack and board game modes like that.
right, right, right. And they
That'll be
did
cool.
also remember the Idris mission where we had to I think was like a community event that they did where we had to board the Idris, and that they had CIG staff on board.
Yeah.
So that was the hint right there when I seen it.
Yeah, they're getting there. Now they just need to do that with an actual. Oh man, that could be really good. They don't even. It doesn't have to be against CIG employees or other players. Just the
Mhm.
890 jump boarding mission we already have. They just flip the
Right,
sides. That kind of stuff would be great. But I guess that's why they've been working on the AI navigation so much.
right, right, right.
Going back to the crew size of this ship, something I bet a lot of cargo haulers are interested in hearing, especially with ships of this size, is what exactly what is everybody going to do during like you have six people on this ship. Okay. You got your pilot, you got a couple engineers, maybe it's a couple turret gunners. But for the 80% of the time when you're not being attacked, when your ship isn't experiencing glitches and stuff, when you're just grabbing some boxes, flying to another system and then flying to a planet. What exactly are other people on this ship going to do to keep themselves entertained?
And I think that's a great question. I think that's a challenge CIG needs to overcome. You know, it's a great idea being able to be on a ship together, doing things together, but there are long travel times in between experiences, right? So I know that they mentioned I think with the 890 there's like a little basketball court, that a basketball net there. Um they also showed with the MSR a little chess game that they have on the MSR. So I'm thinking, man, what will we do? Um,
We got a supporter in chat here in the server saying the same thing you do in Sea of Thieves: play music, get drunk, and go AFK. I
right?
There are definitely things to do, and like you said, there's the basketball court they've added. Like there are chess kits. They're definitely going to have. There's going to be like a card game. There's going to be something that they can do where you're in the game and you can play games. Arena Commander is supposed to be a video game in the game, but I'm also interested in like cargo hauling as a profession. If you're creating ships that require 6 people, you're doing the same in combat, and you've got kind of rules for that. You do the same in mining, and you've got rules for that. What is it in cargo hauling that we can do that would still create gameplay for players who aren't necessarily flying the ship? Like, I know that they've got plans for this. They have to, right? You've got logistics from tractor
Right.
beams and you've got the person who's flying. But besides those 2 people, you basically don't have any real requirement besides the trading. So I'm wondering what they've got, what they're cooking for that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. I hope they do have plans, honestly, because I have no idea
Yeah.
what else we'll
Yeah.
be doing.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that's always something that I think comes up when you get larger scale ships is like, okay, the more people you
Right.
require on the ship, the more gameplay you need to bring out. And engineering is good, but
That is true.
um let's see. Are there any particular things about the Ironclad that you have noticed since they unveiled it? Anything interesting that stands out from this ship compared to other ships?
Like I mentioned before, the cargo bay being so vast, it enables it to become a base. You know, I feel like it will allow a lot of different gameplay loops, simply because it can fit other ships. Um, you know, with the fact that it has a separate area to put your rovers. You have plenty of space to put hover bikes. You know, so just imagine them introducing rovers that add to gameplay. So right now they have the ROC. So imagine other maybe exploration type rovers you can have on the ship. Um, that will also so because of that, because there's so many different kinds of vehicles you can put into this ship, it enables a ship to become um explorer, an explorer, a hauler, a miner, a base, a salvager. You know, so it's literally going to be a Swiss Army knife. Um, maybe similar to the Galaxy with its modules, but instead of modules, it's what ships you put in it. I
Yeah,
feel
it's just flexible.
right,
It's I'm now considering that combat variant that they wanted to make able to carry tanks. I'm now thinking, I don't know what size gun is on those tanks, but you could fly this thing around as like a little defensive platform with the top open, 4 tanks underneath with their
right,
guns pointed up. That's a
right.
decent amount of firepower along with the turrets that they put on the ship. I'd be interested in seeing how much output that is DPS wise.
Yeah, that's gonna be insane.
Star Citizen's we're gonna do some weird stuff with this ship.
Absolutely.
Does this thing um Does it eat into the, at least the cargo variant, or sorry, the combat variant? Does it eat into the Liberators market, in your opinion?
Man, it's a I feel like it's a direct competitor to the Liberator. I'm not I forget, I didn't check how much ships the Liberator can carry, but um for, let's say, if you want to bring a fleet of arrows, you can fit a lot of arrows in that ship. You think about it, because simply because they fold their wings, or you can fit a lot of the Misk, the Morai fighters, the ones that
The
do Q
Fury.
drives, the Fury.
Yeah.
Just imagine how much you can fit in there, right? I feel like it's a direct competitor to the Liberator for sure.
Little
And
pocket carrier.
I think also it's actually more capable, simply because it has it holds the ships on the inside, as
Mhm.
opposed to the Liberator having the ships on the outside. So just imagine damage and things of that nature. So I feel like it's more capable, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's interesting. I mean, not only is it Drake, so um, I would say there are probably like five main ship lines. I guess the other one is Anvil, which is also a main ship line. But I feel like Drake ships almost are more significant than Anvil ships, because we have so many Anvil. Um, but this has got some unique stuff going for it. We mentioned the command module. It's kind of like the Caterpillar. It can straight up disconnect as an escape pod and just
Right.
fly away with the crew. That's
Right.
funny enough. I want to say that's a big deal, but I don't freaking know. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that, what are they telling us something about the game with these additions? Do you feel like is this survival? I mean, we know that there are survival mechanics in Star Citizen, but do you think they're going to go deep enough in it that like players need to consider having a detachable command module to escape and land somewhere?
I honestly think, I've been thinking about this for quite some time, where um how is this space of the death of a spaceman going to feel like once it's fully implemented? Like, what are they thinking? I was thinking, like, why should I care if I die on the ship or not? Right? What am I going to lose if I die? And I think back in the day they mentioned um reputation lost, and or assets being transferred over to a clone of yours or something like that. But what I'm thinking, I remember CIG mentioned a few years ago where they're going to allow your character to develop skills as you play. So, for example, in in Escape from Tarkov, right? It's your character develops skills like perception, stealth, simply based on what you do, right? Based on, if you sneak around a lot, you make less sound over time as you get better sneaking around in terms of stealth.
It's like our
Um,
favorite system from San Andreas.
right,
I'd do all those pull-ups and
right,
I'd be ripped. Yeah, I remember that.
right. Yeah, and depending on how much stuff you carry on your back, you become stronger. You can jump higher. So if you built out a character through experiences doing combat, running around, sneaking around, and built this perfect character that is so much better than other people or other characters in the game, you really don't want to lose that.
So you got a
So
mosquito in here.
that's what I've been thinking. So yeah, so I think I feel like they need to make us feel that we don't want to, like, our most valuable asset is our character
Yeah,
and not the ship.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
they need to be able to implement.
yeah. And they I think this is why you were saying it. They kind of started talking about a skill system in this game, um, like a year and a half ago now. And funny enough, they
Mhm.
mentioned it, and I think they've mentioned it one other time besides that in a monthly report or something. And then they're just about it because it's fairly divisive, I'd say, in the community as to how far they take a skill system like that. But yeah, I think one of the things they're trying to do is focus a lot more on making sure we care about our characters and that we won't die. But my first thought, and if you look at the picture for the concept art, never speculate about this game based on concept art, but here I am, I'm doing it. You look at the picture, it looks like this is a ship, and the way they talked about it, you might get attacked, and you have to take this escape pod command module. They got the same thing in Caterpillar, and for the record, there are a lot of ships with escape pods, so it's not too weird.
Right.
It's just like it's very purpose built for this ship. You take this out, you only have so much fuel. It takes you to the planet nearby. You land. What then? Are they going to develop enough survival mechanics, enough of a local resource loop where you can build and craft a system that helps you get in contact with people, or are you just sending a mobiGlas message? Like, is this going into a survival mechanics kind of territory? What do they want the experience to be like when you do use an escape pod? Is something that starts to come up for me when you're introducing ships that are very hopefully based on that at this point in time in development.
Yeah. Thinking about this, and if I was a developer, I'm from the standpoint of a gamer, right? It would be ideal to implement an in-depth survival mechanic into Star Citizen. Not too punishing, but punishing enough where number one, you don't want to lose your character. Give me reasons why I shouldn't lose my character. Number two, but once, let's say we do go to a planet with our escape pods, you know, they've already mentioned the fact that we'll be able to extract resources from plants, animals, and things like that with the crafting mechanic. They're already
Mm-hmm.
talking about manufacturing in the game and base building mechanics. So by default, there is going to be a certain level of survival in terms of going out and getting the necessary materials to create this. So it's I hope it's in depth enough. I hope it's in depth enough where, because they did mention back in the day where um they want players to even have the option to stay on a planet and just experience Star Citizen and not have to worry about flying out off the planet.
Yeah.
So with them saying that, they have to have some in-depth gameplay loops while you're on a planet. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah. I noticed them starting to talk about that last Citizen Con with the new outposts, talking about localized gameplay and missions like that. And I agree. I think that would be actually a cool way to start the game if you could pick your start, a city, a space station, or just like survival start where they're basically like No Man's Sky. They put you out in the wilderness. They say your ship's broken down. You have to figure out how to craft the parts to get it back up and running. That could be a
right,
cool way to start the game too. But we don't know exactly what
right,
they have in mind for that.
right. I would love to see that, to be quite honest. It's I the home base. I do want to have a starting option where it's in a separate system from Stanton, and it's a little bit more lawless, and it's not necessarily at a space station, but somewhere planet side, and then you just have to figure your way a way to get off the planet. And I would love to see something like that,
Yeah, that
definitely.
would be cool. Oh man, just hearing the stories of people like, oh yeah, I chose this start in the game and this is what happened, and it makes it so that less and less people have a similar beginning to the game, and you get to kind of start it out as you want to play Star Citizen, but that must be difficult to figure out on their side if they were going to do something like that.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So we're recording this episode on what is it? Saturday the 25th, about 2 hours, I think, before this ship goes live for sale for the first time. What do you think this thing's going to cost?
um, the ship that I would compare this thing to in terms of capability would be the RSI Arastra. Um, so I'm thinking around 500 to 700, between that range. Simply
Okay.
because the Arastra introduces a lot of options, right? It's like in the realm of mining, you can mine larger rocks, or you can also do RC mining. You have rovers, you have space for cargo. So I feel like this ship allows so much, and plus it has a cargo space. So I think it's going to be around that range, and yeah, that's where I think it is.
Okay. It's expensive.
Yeah, I know,
Buy it in game,
I know.
folks. Do it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm wondering. So, okay, now that we know the kind of balancing that they're doing for ships in general, then, and this is far out there. You won't have to be held accountable for this guess nearly as quickly. What do you think it's going to cost in game?
Oh man,
Do you know the prices
that's
that well
a
yet?
no. I don't know the prices that well, but I can see this thing costing like 70 mil.
Definitely, yeah, tens and tens of millions.
And yeah, yeah, I can see that. The 890 is around like what 89 million. So like maybe 50, 49 mil, 50 mil.
And at least in the game right
Yeah,
now, this thing will make you a lot more money than the 890.
right.
I do wonder though. I am very curious when they come up with these VIP personnel missions and you have to like take 9 people out to see some star system and keep them a certain level of happy. Are they just going to straight up, it's like each of those people going to give you 400,000 credits and then you're basically making up that price from, because those two ships, 890 jump versus this, you might find them being similar dollar price. Value in game,
Right.
you got to figure out how to let somebody who needs to transport 9 to 12 people make a similar way of supporting that ship and their gameplay as somebody who's transporting like 1500 SCU of steel. So that's going to be interesting. Not to
Right.
tangent or anything, but
Right. Yeah, I think it is with the 890. I think with the personal transport, first of all, these are people, not boxes. So the value, the amount of money you should be able
tell
to
that to the
make
Hurstons, man.
higher, right? So plus all these are VIPs, so you can charge more. So and also the amenities you have on your ship, you can charge more. So I think with the 890, it has potential to make some serious money as well, if they do it right.
Yeah, if they do it right. Do you think this is going to be a popular ship?
The Ironclad,
Yeah.
it's going to be popular. It's popular now. A lot of people, especially in the comments, some of the comments on my videos, a lot of people love it, man. It's
Why? Well, what do
I
you?
like it.
What's the main thing people are saying?
Um, I think the look of it, the its ability to not just be a hauler. When I know when I seen it right away, I'm like, man, you can do so much. When they showed there's an image where they had a Pisces on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, you can fit a lot of things in here. Also, it's this is the first time I've seen a Drake ship, and it really impressed me because it also kind of looks like a military ship, being this tanky drop ship, but also can dish out a lot of damage with the assault variant of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's one of the coolest ships I've seen so far.
I've definitely noticed a lot of comments saying things along the lines of, "This is why I joined Star Citizen. I wanted to get a very general purpose but capable ship that I could apply to a lot of
Mhm.
different things." And basically, just putting a large space into a ship seems to be a recipe to pleasing a lot of people when it comes to getting a ship. Just give them a large room, make sure it has a large door. Um, do
Right.
you think that this is a very purposeful approach they took for this ship? This is something that they think the game needs? Or do you think this is just they knew that players would like a ship like this?
I think I think it's something that they thought players would need, because you kind of don't want to make ships that uh, restrict players. You know, you kind of don't want
Like
to
specialized ships?
specialize ship. Yeah, like I want like in real life, right? There are things that are, if you want to be really good at something, you have to get something that's specialized for that one purpose, but also generalized ships that will allow you to do a lot of different things. Not so great at every all those things, but you can touch those different aspects of the game, right? So I think, like, if you look at the Hull C, it's specialized, right? You can't really do much with it but just move cargo. But with this ship, you can move cargo. You can do mining. You can do salvaging. You can do combat. Can do combat assault, dropship. The list just continues, right? And putting putting mechanics in the game to allow for creativity is I think a great path to take. I think.
It is it's a general purpose beast. It's your large daily driver kind of thing. You can do a lot of different
Right.
stuff. It's like a kind of how I see something like the Spirit, the Cutlass Black, or the Zeus ES, but like in a very large form.
Yes. 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 Absolutely.
Can see why that would appeal to a lot of people.
Yep. It did. It,
Nice.
it does appeal to me.
I got the call to prayer in the background. You guys know about it. Let's see. Here's a question I have, buddy. Here's a question I have about a ship like this. We were talking actually about NPC based missions and stuff like that earlier. But I do also wonder when I see ships like this, how they'll fit into the background of the game. So like when we're running missions as a mercenary, or even like a side mission in Squadron 42, there are ships we have to run those missions on. This feels like it would be one of those missions. Do you think we'll see this as like a set piece in a lot of different places in Star Citizen in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is a great ship to create an experience similar to Kovalex. A crashed ironclad that was assaulted by pirates or was assaulted by a different faction. Go and find, like, an investigation mission, go and find this person, right? Um, Also, I need you to go and find this ironclad in this system and board it. There's a specific, um, item I want off the ship, and they're hiding it inside of the secure cargo area. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah, I
So
forgot they
there,
have that.
yes. So this will be great, because there's so much you can do with it. Go and salvage the ironclad. Go and um, there's so much they can do with this thing, and I think it's a great ship for it to create set pieces with it.
Yeah, a lot of these missions they were doing with the Reclaimer recently would fit probably pretty well on this ship. Like this would be the
Mm.
kind of ship somebody would use for an organ harvesting ship. You got this massive opening.
Right.
You just toss the organs out into space.
Right.
None the wiser. Just get them and go. Yeah,
Right.
it looks like a really good ship for those kinds of set pieces. Um, you had said, oh man, I lost my train of thought because I called a prayer. You had said something
Mm.
about um, boarding missions. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Yeah, boarding missions. You can do boarding missions. Go and retrieve this from this from the cargo secure cargo area. Go and salvage this ironclad. There is a lot. There is a lot you can do with it. Even like board it, but the generator's off, so it's EVA. You
Yeah,
know,
I actually I realized I was remembering aliens. Like
right?
this would be the perfect ship for an investigation mission. That's what you said. Investigation missions could be incredible on this. I think it's something about the design of the ship and the way it looks, but going into something like this
Mm.
when it's derelict or powered down and there's no light, no gravity, and you're trying to find something and creepy noises, this feels like the right kind of ship for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would be really interested for them to have uh uh NPC aliens in EVA. on these
Oh
ships.
my
That would
gosh.
be awesome. That would be crazy.
Dude, the absolute potential of that kind of stuff in this game is terrifying. I played Alien Isolation and I know I will not be able to handle that. Like I'm gonna GII is going in there for me in that case. That's oof. Um all right, let's talk a little bit about I'm excited for the Ironclad. I want to talk a bit about 4.0 though and what else is coming up. I know that they just had a bunch of conversation about that in Star Citizen Live yesterday. I haven't watched that. I don't know if you have. But I'm wondering if you have any highlights or any things in particular that you're excited about coming up this summer that you've got your eye on, specific features that you think maybe have been sleepers people haven't been paying attention to. What's on your radar?
For 4.0, man, it's
Yeah.
it's number one, being able to go through that jump gate for the first time. You know, with them implementing, or at least they plan to implement the engineering gameplay into the game. With plus they also have they also mentioned that there will be some features that they will be adding as we get closer.
Did they say
You
that?
know, yeah, it's in their it's a part of their wording when they mentioned it because
Okay.
as they get closer, they said there will be more.
Yeah.
Um, so I can I'm excited to be able to go into a new system with a group of players and not so much depend on the space stations, but depend on what we bring. So a big ship, the Polaris is for an example, being able to bring miners, being able to bring refuelers, being able to bring um these different ships that allow us to do different things, plus being able to save with the exploration mechanic, being able to save quantum beacons or quantum markers out in space, and just having small base of operations and just operating off of a big ship and going in and out doing different things. I think once they have all of these things with server mesh and being able to jump to through gates, that gameplay experience will be something new. I think it's a lot of people is not realizing how expansive the game will become once we're able to go into star systems, able to save quantum beacons, and being able to multi-crew on a big ship like the Polaris. It's going to be a completely different gameplay experience because we since we've been in Stanton, we've been so reliant on space stations and um, major landing zones being readily available all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to seeing a system where we need to rely on ourselves to survive here. You know,
Do you think that will really happen in Pyro though, or will players just be like logging in on space stations in Pyro and just kind of going about the same loop?
I think people are used to Stanton, so they will continue in the same way. But eventually, they'll add systems where it's not really civilized or colonized by people, and that's what I'm really looking forward to because it's like we're going to be thrown in the deep end once they add those kinds of systems.
Would you say Pyro
Um,
is that kind of system though?
Pyro has, because it was a colonized system. Well, not colonized, but there are people there already, and
Yeah.
they just left the infrastructure, and outlaws and privateers took it over. So there's already infrastructure there, like outposts and um, space stations already. But what about unexplored systems? Once there is unexplored systems, it's going to be a different game because you're going to survive based on what you bring. And I feel like it's going to be a completely different experience than what we're used to right now.
Yeah. But Pyro will kind of play still like Stanton, you think?
Pyro, Pyro will be, I think a lot of people won't even be in Stanton, to be quite honest. It will be similar to Stanton, but because it's lawless, it's going to be a lot more harsher than what we have in Stanton here. But then again, it's also going to, because of the size of it, it will still be hard to run into players,
Yeah.
depending on how they implement exploration. Because I don't want them to be able to somebody to just find me in the system by probing the system and easily finding my ship and then jumping directly to me. I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's gonna be, that kind of feels like the medical gameplay versus combat and FPS gameplay sort of scenario again, in order to expand the exploration gameplay that might make normal players a little bit more vulnerable. Balancing that'll be interesting. Do you think that they're going to be
Yeah.
stepping into more of that anytime soon? Like, we got the star map update, but we didn't get placeable quantum beacons and markers. You know, we still haven't heard anything
Yeah.
about long distance probing, and an update to
Right.
scanning with ships hasn't been mentioned either. Do you think that's like still pretty far away?
Um, it could be. It depends. I don't know how. I don't know what the prerequisites will be, but I know server meshing was one of the prerequisites for a lot of the systems right now. Because even if you look at the roadmap roundup, a lot of these systems that are coming online, the the wording is making it compatible with server meshing. So I think once server meshing is in, everything else will be built based on the server meshing code base,
Definitely.
and I think it'll enable them to be able to um, add in the exploration gameplay, things like that.
That's one of the unspoken beauties of the fact that they're finally reaching server meshing, is they're going to be able to solidify the actual foundation of the game, and all these systems that have always been so janky for us, they're going to be able to go in and optimize them how they actually want them to run, because it's working on server meshing. It's not working on some outdated system that they can't do anything with. So
Right.
I agree. I do think that we'll see things be more quality after that. But it makes me a little nervous that we haven't heard anything about an updated version of scanning for ships, especially now that we're
Yeah.
you know, Squadron 42 is not very far away, and I imagine that's something that they do want to have in for Squadron.
Yeah. I agree. I think with Squadron, they don't need to worry about they don't need to worry about server meshing in Squadron, but in Star Citizen, they need to
Yeah.
consider server meshing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's closer than we think simply because they need that mechanic in Squadron.
And
So I think they just haven't revealed it yet. So
it also, in Squadron, doesn't have to worry about like all the things that we can detect in Star Citizen that we might use for gameplay, like salvage and mining other players and other players' objects, their ships, stuff like that. There's a lot more that would go into
Mhm.
that system in Star Citizen. So yeah, hopes are it's already in Squadron, but still nothing about it in Star Citizen just yet.
Right.
Uh, anything else 4.0, or rather in terms of this summer, that you think might pop up from Star Citizen that catch people by surprise?
Um, man, it's I think I think it's more so the exploration gameplay is actually honestly the one that I think we'll see more of. Honestly, I think
Fingers
that's
crossed
the
for
one that
that,
I've been
man.
really looking forward to. Yeah, I would love to see how that's gonna play out in the PE for sure.
Yeah, because right now they're adding these locations and stuff. They're adding animals to the game, rivers, caves, derelict ships can drop cargo. Like, all this stuff is actually starting to become explorable and things you can find because of persistence,
Mhm.
but you can't find it. Like,
Right,
if you're sitting over a
right,
moon, you have no idea what's going on in that moon. So
right.
that'd be really nice to see some advancements in that, especially now that the star map's updated. I agree there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time to talk about the Ironclad This is a unique ship. I think, like you said, it's a unique ship, but it is like very generalized, and that's why a lot of people like it. And I look forward to seeing how much it spreads throughout the community. And when we see it, when we might see it, what do you think is the timeline for this? Because they didn't
Oh,
say anything, right?
um, yeah, it might be a few years down the road. Honestly, they
Ah,
already have a backlog. They already have a backlog. I mean, like they don't. It's a nice ship, but there isn't anything that relies on it. You know what I mean? Like we already have cargo ships that can carry
yeah,
things. So, you know, the Polaris is definitely has to come because they want to have engineering gameplay, right? So if there's a mechanic that they want to release, they usually want to release a ship with it. So
yeah.
I don't see the Ironclad having a gameplay loop associated with it. So that's why I don't know.
It's
you know,
rough. And from what we've seen of the ship series, the Spirit series does still not had the E1 release because there's no passenger transport gameplay. And I'm guessing the
right?
Zeus series won't have the MR release until Bounty Hunting gets its renewal. So they are seeming to be sticking to this idea that they're not going to release a ship unless the stuff is ready for it. Granted, like you said, it's just a cargo ship. Things are ready for that, but no timelines given, no ideas of work starting on it. I think the only thing they were showing was the concept mesh artwork in the Inside Star
Yeah,
Citizen. So we've got a while on
yeah,
this one.
yeah,
That might disappoint folks. Anyways, Phase One,
yeah.
thanks again for joining me, man.
Thank
You
you.
make videos about Star Citizen ships and features and stuff. Please let the good people know where they can find those videos.
Yeah, guys, you can find me on Phase 1 Gaming Redefined on YouTube, and that's primarily where I create all my content. So you can check me out there.
Cool. What kind of stuff are you making?
I make anything really, news, guides, tutorials, gameplay, cinematics. I also plan on doing a Zero to Hero very soon for 323, so look out for that.
Those are good fun. You gonna start with or without a ship?
I don't know how I'll do it without a ship, but
It's not
I'll just start with
easy.
a small starter
Okay.
and then
Okay.
go
Well,
with
good luck.
that. Yeah.
I will keep an eye out for that.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining me, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you,
And
guys.
yeah, thank you all for coming and joining us for another episode. I hope this gave you some insight into the Ironclad and got you a little bit excited about it. Don't go buying it if you don't really need it, though. Tell me I didn't warn you. We don't know when this ship is coming out, so if you do buy it, it'll be in concept. You'll get some loaners for a while, but we're going to be waiting on this one. Can't wait to see how it turns out, though. Thank you all again for joining us. We are available on audio and video platforms, so if you're looking for a new way to watch or listen, check us out, and I'll see you all next week.